Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Adil Farooq with Adil Law Lounge, and today we are talking about another different topic relating to the real estate transactions. But before I start my regular conversation, this is a disclaimer that this information session is for information purposes only. If you have any specific question or any specific legal issues, I would suggest to talk to your real estate lawyer or any legal professional who have the knowledge of the issues before making any decision. And do not take this information session as a legal advice. And today we will talk about the writ of executions, which we, being a lawyer, deal with the real estate transactions, and we have to take care of all the writ of executions comes up, whether it is against the buyer or against the seller during that process. So before I start this, just want to give you some background of this thing. Whenever we been hired by a client to complete their purchase transaction or sale transaction, we have to deal with those issues in that process, whether you know or you don't know. But it's very important you know about this process, because this will be subject to extra cost during this legal process. So I will talk about start with the purchase process. When we purchasing a real estate property for one of our clients, so we have and the client also have a mortgage to buy that property. This is our obligation, and this is a requirement by the lender that we have to check that if the buyers have any writ of execution against their names. So we always go to the TerraView system, and we check with the sheriff's office that if the buyer has a writ of execution against his or her name. But that writ of execution we only check in the region where this property is located. For example, if the property is located in region of Peel, we only check writ of execution in region of Peel. We don't check in the Toronto or Halton. Likewise, if the property is in Halton, we only check in the Halton. We don't need to check on other regions for the writ of execution of the purchasers. And what is this writ of execution? So in the sheriff office, whenever somebody has a court case against someone and they win the case, and the losing party fail to pay their damages or their cost or their whatever the claim is by the plaintiff in their case, they register that writ of this case in the sheriff office, and that is as a writ of this come as a writ of execution, and that will stay against that person borrower's names, or the person who lost the case against his name, until they withdraw the writ of execution, or there's until certain time, I believe it's 5 or 7 years, they stay there. After that time they have to renew it, otherwise that automatically gone from the system. So writ of execution, when we buy a property, we have to insert the full name of our client into the system. And remember, every person, I would say not every person, more than 99% individuals in Ontario, they have at least 2-part names. Like my name is Adil Farooq, so I have 2 parts of my name. But there are many individuals who have more than 2 parts. Sometimes they have 3 parts, sometimes they have 4 parts, sometimes they have 5 parts. So it depends that what is your name in the agreement of purchase sale, and what's your name in the mortgage instructions. So once we put your name in the system, and if it comes back with a court case against the name which were inserted, that is called notice of writ of execution, which we received. But it's also important to know that if you have 2 or more part of your names, and we insert your name in system, and any 2 parts of your name have a matching writ of execution, that will come out. It will show that the system recognizes that it is like you, even if it's not you, but it comes up as you. And if we have this kind of problem in the process, we have to go further do the further investigations. And if that rate of execution claim is more than $50,000, there are different protocols. If it's less than $50,000, there are different protocols. If this is less than $50,000 and being a client, you are ready to sign a declaration that you are not one and the same person whose name is there in the writ of execution, then we can proceed further without any problem. But if there is a writ of execution against your name which is more than $50,000, in that case we have to send to your personal details to the degree holder's lawyer to get a verification from them that you are not one and the same person who has the writ of execution against his or her name. So at that time, the other lawyer inform us in writing, telling us, okay, yes, this person, your client, may or may not be the same person. And if you are not the same person, we can close this process without any problem. But if they notify us that you are the same person, then unfortunately we have to deal with this writ of execution. We have to pay this writ of execution before we complete your process. And if we send a request to the other lawyer, always remember that the other lawyers who give us the information about whether you are one or the same person or not, they always charge you an extra fee, which can be vary from 200 to 500, anywhere. It depends on the lawyer who is charging. And of course we have to do extra effort, we have to do some extra work. There's a nominal charge increase in our professional fee as well. So this is the process from the purchaser's point of view about the rate of execution. And if we are acting for the seller, the lawyer who is acting for the purchaser, they always check the seller's name, put in the system, see if there are any writ of execution against the sellers. If there are any writ of execution against the sellers, then the purchaser lawyer always inform us, okay, that this is a similar name of your client writ of execution. So they want us to do the same process which we are doing when we are when we are dealing with a purchase transaction, which means that if the writ of executions are less than $50,000, we only take our client's declaration confirming that that client is not one and the same person. But if that rate of execution is more than $50,000, again we have to send the request to the degree holder's lawyer, and that lawyer confirm us whether you are one and the same person or you are not one and the same person who they have the degree. So in our community there are many individuals who have very common name, and for example, Muhammad Ali is one of the common names which we heard from many of my own friends. So whenever we pull up the rate of execution which has these two names, mostly we get back some results with the different rate of executions which those person have more than two parts of their name. For example, Muhammad Nadeem Ali, Muhammad Akbar Ali. So even that will be the case, we will get a rate of execution against those names as well, and that will be considered as our client which his name is Muhammad Ali. But if our client is ready and willing to confirm in writing that he is not one and the same person and the amount of that rate is less than $50,000, we can safely take their affidavit and we close the matter. If the other lawyer said no, your client is the same person, then we have to deal with them and pay the degree amount to them before we close. It's very important for you to understand that if there's any rate of execution comes up under your name, we cannot close the transaction without doing the process which I just inform you. So in that case your lawyer need to do some extra work. They have to check with the other lawyers, and all those things cost money, and that may increase your legal cost to complete the process. And in those rate of if you are one and the same person which is have the rate of execution and the rate is small amount, sometimes I know a few of my clients have this problem. They have the rate of execution against their names, and they decided to deal with the degree holder directly and provide us the necessary documents which satisfy us that the degree has been paid off and the degree holder have their money, so we can close safely. But the bottom line is that we can only close your transaction if we have the proof that a degree has been paid off, and we have the proof that you are not one and the same person. So that is the most one of the most important thing in this whole process. If you have any further question and inquiries about this process, you can always reach to your lawyer who is dealing with your real estate transaction, or you can always reach us and we will be happy to assist you in these kind of matters. Thank you very much for watching Legal Launch by Adil Law, and hopefully we will see you next week with some new topics. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye bye.